Ruth, I'm Sunny. Welcome to Cultural Clash India-Peru. Friends, today we're finally doing something you've requested and commented about for a while. In the uncomfortable questions, we decided to answer it separately as well because it's quite extensive. In this video, we're going to talk about the reasons that made us decide to live in Peru and not in India.
Before we start the video, friends, remember to subscribe. You just have to press that red button and also click the bell so you get a notification every time we upload a new video.
And friends, let's start with the first point. But first, I want to clarify something. The points we're going to mention are based on our experience on what made us decide to live here in my country, in Peru. It's not general because I know there are many people, many foreigners who live in India and love it. So this is each person's decision, right? No, what affects me might affect them too. So this is our decision, not just mine, but his as well. Also, there are things obviously that he didn't like about his own country, just like there are things I don't like about my own country. So I wanted to clarify that. One thing I also want to tell you is that there are many good things about living in India too. And Sunny is going to mention that on his channel. In this case, it would be like telling you about the downsides of living in India according to our experience. And Sunny will mention the pros of living in India on his channel, Sunny G Vlogs.
Well, the first point is the weather. It's something I didn't like about my country. Since I was a child, I didn't like it. It's the heat. It's infernal heat. It's so much that it burns you. And it's not just like 1 or 2 months. It's almost 4 or 5 months that you have to suffer. And it's horrible. And on top of that, when it's hot, they also cut the power. So that makes it even worse. You sweat and sweat. Even if there's a fan, you're sweating and you can't enjoy your food. You can't eat because Indian food is spicy, but when it's hot, you don't even feel like eating spicy food. And I think this was also quite shocking for her because she got little pimples on her neck, on her face, and she was suffering. And also that water, when it comes out of the tap, it's hot. We had to freeze it, so we had to make ice to bathe, and we were fighting. Hey, did you take longer than me? So, the weather was something I didn't like at all.
It's not just the heat. I think that after the heat comes the monsoon, and during the monsoon it's useless. You just have to stay home since it rains, and the worst part is the rain isn't even nice. Let's just say, because I don't remember if I told you that I wanted to go out in the rain since I'm not used to seeing heavy rain. Here I went out and I got otitis, I mean an inflammation in my ear because of the rain. So the weather isn't very favorable. I think there are only 2 or 4 months that are more or less that are good.
They're good. Besides this,
the second point that made us decide to come here to Peru was the traditions. This can be both a pro and a con because there are people who love these traditions and there are even tourists who go for rural tourism, so they like it. But it's very different from doing rural tourism, spending a few days with a traditional family like that. And it's something completely different to spend your whole life there. So this was something I thought about a lot, and honestly, it is complicated. It's not that the family is bad, I don't mean that, but they've grown up like that since they were little and those are their traditions. And I can't go to their country to change them. So either I adapt or I leave. Those were my 2 options. And well, honestly, it's not impossible, but it's complicated. So honestly, I saw a lot of things that I didn't really like. And well, I think that was one of the reasons why we also decided to live here.
yes, friends, traditions are complicated. Like Ruth said, a tourist can deal with it for a few days without obligations since they're just visiting. But when someone is already married to a person from that culture, do they then have an obligation to follow those traditions? Because if not, it might upset the in-laws or other people, right? So yes, and there are also traditions that even bother the Indians themselves, but they can't change them because it's something everyone does. It's something in society that one person can't change. Some traditions from my background bothered me, but I still had to follow them because of my family and elders. But here it's normal, we don't have many traditions anymore. We also considered that and saw that yes, in Peru it would be better. One of the things I don't like about my country is the caste system. You can see this on my channel, Saniji Vlogs, at the link above. And the truth is that nowadays it's something ugly, it's discriminatory. They discriminate against people just for being born in a certain family or having a certain last name. Maybe for you it's like, well, but in every country there's discrimination because of color, race, or being from another region, like from the mountains or the coast, like here in Peru. But it's not something worse there, it's much more than this. So you should watch that video. I recommend it to understand this better. I didn't want my son to learn these things. I want my son to learn something good from both cultures, the culture of Peru and the culture of India. I don't want him to learn the negative things. That's also why in Peru we don't have castes or anything like that. Although sometimes there is discrimination for being from a certain region or for being indigenous people, but it's not as much as in India where there are castes.
When I went to India, I didn't know much about the castes. Honestly, I didn't have much information when I arrived. Well, obviously with my husband we started talking more, getting to know each other, sharing our experiences, and he told me some very ugly, shocking things. Honestly, for me, just being discriminated against for being born into a caste you didn't even choose, not seeing the effort you've made. Being studious, being a hardworking person means nothing because maybe you're from a lower caste. So, are we going to have our child then? Honestly, I wouldn't want that, for them to grow up in a society where they're discriminated against just for belonging to a certain caste. I want to make it clear that not all Indians are like that they care about caste. It's not like that, but there are many who care about it too much. Your last name, so they ask you your last name to know your caste. I don't know why. What's the need to know what caste you are? I can't understand it. I still can't wrap my head around it. But I don't know if they do it to treat you differently once they know what caste you are. Or I don't know what the reason is, but honestly, I don't think it's nice.
I've had friends from all castes. I've never asked them, but I have met people who did discriminate against me. Even in my own village and also in other places, I've seen that my friends were also discriminated against. So I didn't want that for my son, for people to tell him that he's from that caste and that he's inferior or something like that. So it's absurd because if someone says that to you, it lowers your morale and you start thinking maybe they're right or I don't know. So I didn't want that for the next generation in my family.
The next point is one of the things that didn't affect Sony, but it did affect me. This is my point. It's basically the language. The truth is that, as you all know, I went to India without knowing English. I had a very basic foundation, but Hindi 00 in Hindi. The idea was for me to learn because at that time we weren't sure where we were going to live. Sony taught me English. Even so, not everyone in India knows English and not everyone is going to speak full English to you. So you start talking to someone in English and they're going to start speaking in Hindi and then you're already lost. If you go to the market, you need Hindi. If you speak English, they'll know you're a foreigner and charge you more. So language was a big disadvantage for me. Honestly, it really was. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've even met and heard stories of people who have lived in India for many years and still don't speak Hindi, they just get by with English. That was a factor, but not the main one, since learning a language isn't impossible. If we had decided to live in India, I would have definitely had to learn it. Maybe in a few more years, 3 or 4 years, I would have learned it well. But the truth is, yes, it was shocking for me because I couldn't make friends, I couldn't talk to anyone, I couldn't go to the market alone. That part was complicated.
The next reason is freedom of expression. That's true. It's something, as you know, that's very difficult. The culture in India is very conservative. You can't express yourself with your partner or your family the way you should. And that's something that did make me uncomfortable because sometimes I did want to hug her or kiss her, but I couldn't because of the culture. And yes, in public places, yes, even if you hug or kiss your partner on the cheek or forehead, people still look at you strangely and it makes you uncomfortable. So, that's something I didn't like because I do like to express myself. I like to show my love, so that was also one of the things that neither she nor I liked. She also wanted to seem Latina, like they're more open, more affectionate, so she had to limit herself too. That was also one of the reasons.
Yes, friends, I'm not someone who arrives and says, I'm Latina, I'll do whatever I want. Honestly, I limited myself a lot out of respect for their culture. It's right to avoid just doing whatever you want when visiting a foreign country. So yes, I respected their culture a lot while I was there, but it was uncomfortable. Obviously, I had to do it out of respect, but it wasn't something I wanted to do. I wanted to hug him, I wanted to kiss him, not just in terms of affection between spouses, but even when talking to someone. Obviously, I used my translator. So let's say I wanted to tell him something and he couldn't say it because he was embarrassed. So I would tell him, love, go ahead and ask. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with asking that. And he would say, no, but is she my aunt or is she a woman? Then I can't ask her that. I say, wow, but she's family. In the family, there should be trust, or at least there should be. If I want to ask something to my mom, dad, uncle, cousin, or anyone, regardless of gender, I'll ask them, knowing the question won't make them uncomfortable. And they weren't uncomfortable questions, not even the ones I told him to ask his aunt. So those things were like that, a little complicated to deal with over there, even when his aunt wanted to give me underwear, some lingerie. I remember one time she gave it to me all hidden, like she was handing me something really bad. When I opened it and saw it was underwear. So these little things end up, well, maybe making you laugh at some point. But they clash in a certain way, and that's something that really affects Zuni here in my country. It's something I often tell her, love, please, you've been here for almost a year now. Talk to my family, and he tells me, but I do talk. He talks to my cousins just a little, mostly with the men and with the kids. It's hard for him to talk to adults. Why? Because of this. Because in India, it's not very common to talk so openly like that. So expressing your feelings with adults, is that still something that's hard for him? With my own family, I tell him, but my family isn't like your family. It's okay, respect your family. They have their traditions, their way of being, but mine is different. So with them, you can express yourself, you can open up, but it's still hard for him.
Now, to finish the video, the last point is religion. That's something that also clashed because on certain days there's no meat, there's no barber to cut your hair. On certain days you can't get babies or any meat, and the barber shops aren't open to cut your hair. So it's something difficult because I like to have my normal diet to eat beef. And sometimes there are days when for a whole week there's no beef, there's no chicken. That happens in Oratras. It's in March or August, I think, or September, I'm not sure. So over there was no beef or anything. And it's that Peruvian food usually has some chicken or some beef. There aren't really any fully vegetarian dishes. There are very few of those. So we had to cook something at the Cerote house and all that. But I missed eating some chicken because I had already gotten used to eating Peruvian food. Lomo saltado and those things, but I couldn't have any. It's because of religion, because of beliefs, traditions, that on certain days those things aren't allowed.
There are houses, especially apartments, where they tell you that only vegetarians can live there, really only vegetarians. So where we live, there wasn't this condition whether vegetarians or non-vegetarians lived there. I mean, anyone could live there. And well, our neighbors next door, because of their religion, didn't eat chicken or eggs or anything like that. So one day the landlord comes to the house and tells us that the neighbors next door complained. Why? Because the smell of our food was reaching their house. And me, what did I do? Like, what is it? Seriously? I've lived in rented houses before too, and never in my life has anyone complained that the smell of my food reached their house. So for me it was, wow, this was pretty shocking too. And they got upset because they didn't eat chicken, they didn't want the smell of my food to reach their house. The owner had to install a kind of fan next to the kitchen because it wasn't working. And well, he told me every time you cook, turn this on and the smell will go somewhere else and won't reach their house. So this was also something that made us think about where it would be better for us to live.
Well, friends, all those points are based on our experience. It's not meant to generalize because there are many people who are foreigners and live in India peacefully. They might have some culture shocks, but for them, it's something normal. They get used to it. But there are people from India itself who don't like those things about their own country, and there are also foreigners who don't like them either. So it depends on each person, but this video and the points are based on our experience.
Yes, friends, we want to clarify this again because there's always someone who leaves pointless comments. To put it nicely, so this is according to our experience. That's all for today's video.
I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a like, and you can also follow us on other social media. The links are in the description. Well,
Friends, take care. Bye.